we started getting closer to the NFL season. Everybody you might or might not know this. I am one of the fantasy analysts on the NFL Network, so I think it's imperative that we go out there and start covering some of these fantasy news, because I've noticed during the comment sections, or reading the comment section, that some of you have some fantasy questions, and I think that it would only be fair to sit here and take some time to answer some of those. So, Sammy, let's go to Fantasy Island.
Welcome to our Fantasy Island.
And joining us here today is one of the brightest minds in the fantasy football space. You've seen her all over recently. She was at the Great Expo in Canton, Ohio, was a part of that great women's panel. She is also the vice president of marketing for Trophy Smack. Please welcome to the show our friend Kelly Singh.
Hello, Fantasy
Hello.
Island.
Welcome to the island.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you.
You know what? Since you've got your colorful glasses, I will adorn mine as well.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
We got fantasy season approaching. I know there's people out there panicking because if their fantasy draft is not this weekend, it's the following weekend on Labor Day. So, Kelly, lay it out for me. What is your strategy going into fantasy season this year?
My strategy always seems to be, first and foremost, I want to get my guy. I know that sounds really cheesy, but I feel like I do not have an enjoyable season if I haven't gotten my guy. And it feels like my guy has gotten more and more popular over the last 2 years, which happens to be Mark Andrews, my guy.
Oh, no.
So getting my guy has become a little bit tougher depending on where I am in the grand scheme of things. However, the tight end room is broad if you're willing to look a little deeper. I don't know.
How early though? Like whenever we've heard this, like for the last couple of years, we've seen people reach as early as the first round for guys like Travis Kelce. How early is it? Is it too early to go for a tight end? Where do you want to draft somebody like Mark Andrews?
I'm sure that I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but no, it's never too early to draft a tight end like Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce or any of those top guys because of their scoring potential, especially in those leagues where you can get extra points for different tight end roles. I like to play multiple tight ends personally in flex spots because I feel like they're really undervalued in fantasy. People are always looking RB. I feel like that's gotten a little bit slower as the years have gone by, and that's somewhat antiquated. This year, it feels like wide receivers are getting a lot of attention, but that tight end role, man, they can produce. I'm not talking to Nick Boyle that blocks. I'm talking to Mark Andrews that makes points.
No, for sure. And it's not a knock on Lamar Jackson to say this, but it's not a knock on Lamar Jackson to say this, but that offense designed by Greg Roman funnels targets to the tight end, which is why Mark Andrews is a tremendous option for you, puts up the numbers of a wide receiver. Has he passed Travis Kelce as the top tight end in fantasy? I mean, I guess he did last year. He scored more points, but what about coming into this season?
I still was seeing a lot of writing out there where he was the tight end 2. But yeah. But I would say in drafts that I've been in, that's totally the opposite. He's definitely going as the TE1, and I've been in well over 20 drafts already this season, and it's
20 drafts?
Yes. Man, I'm such a noob.
People online are not going to like that. They're going to think that that's excessive.
Only rookies do that.
Yeah. Who would do that? So, but you're also drafting though with fantasy hipsters. Like you're out there with like people in the industry, like most of these, like we do a lot of these drafts, like the people that we're drafting with now are all hip to this. But if you're talking to somebody, and we have a lot of great fans who are listening to us on AM 1530 WCKG in Chicago, who might be approaching a fantasy draft for the first time right now. When you look at the rankings, though, for us, I think we're both in agreement that Mark Andrews is better than Travis. Is a better option than Travis Kelce.
Yes, for sure.
How do you
Yes.
feel, though? Let me ask you, though, because I like Mark Andrews is still my tight end, too. But my tight end one is Kyle Pitts. I just feel that him being in Atlanta, being the most featured, like probably the best option that they have as a receiver. I know they drafted Drake London, but I also look at it, too, when Marcus Mariota was the quarterback in Tennessee, Delaney Walker had the best seasons of his career.
Right.
So I think that Kyle Pitts could end up being the tight end one. Am I crazy?
I don't think you're crazy. There's a lot of hype behind that. I don't think it's unfounded hype, but it makes me slightly nervous when I think about
Oh, no.
making Kyle Pitts my tight end one. However, that being said, once it comes to me, if my top choices are gone, there is Kyle Pitts. I am seeing him go very early as well. So I don't think it's terrible, but there are some really fun. There's one specific tight end that I think is a really fun sleeper option that maybe people are starting to think about, which is Albert O. I will not attempt it just out of respect.
Akue Budum.
I know all of you radio TV people practice because Kendall with another network, Kendall Valenzuela, she practiced and said it on our Women of Fantasy Football podcast. And I was like, teach me your ways.
Yeah, you got to get the phonetic spelling. I just had the researcher send that to me. And I think I still might be saying it incorrectly, but Akue Bunum. And it's also like when Tua Tagovailoa first started coming out, and then people just say Tua. I wanted to be the first one, especially in the fantasy space, who was just like, I'm going for it. And you just got to have the confidence. And eventually, people have caught up. And once you learn how to say it, you'll never say Tua. You're always like, oh yeah, Tagovailoa does this and that. So it is something that you'll get it, Kelly. Listen, it's still training camp for us as well as you're getting acclimated, getting ready for the upcoming season. But Akua Bunam, why do you like him so much? Why do you think that he has some potential there for the Denver Broncos?
Because one, Noah Fant was the tight end there. I was on that train, even though he received the bulk, I believe the leading share of snaps there on the team. He's gone. So that frees up 90 some snaps, I believe. And that leaves Albert O there to receive those. I think with Russell Wilson in place, he's going to be looking for that tight end to pass to. It's a whole opportunity. And right now he's being drafted as the tight end 17. Ooh. So it's really a really great value, in my opinion, with this brand new offense you're going to see in Denver.
You know what? It almost makes me want to pull up the fantasy football calculator and figure out who are the six. I mean, obviously there's some guys at the top of these drafts who end up going ahead of, Albert Akue Budum. Let's see. Darren, you got Dalton Schultz, Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson. Zach Ertz is a great option. Dawson. Okay, wait, actually, I'm starting to see. All right, okay. I'm starting to see why he could possibly fall. But I do want to say this. You might or might not be aware. This is a Chicago Bears show. Right. So if we're going to talk tight ends, Ill Will and I were just talking about Cole Kmet. We're both fighting over. We're both fighting over like who's the bigger Cole Kmet fan. It's like that scene in Happy Gilmore where Chubbs dies. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert. Where Chubbs dies and Shooter and Happy are both fighting over who's playing for Chubbs this year. Mm-hmm. It's kind of that way with Cole Kmet. How do you feel about him as a potential sleeper this season?
Last year, I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to draft Cole Kmet. And then nothing really great came of that. This year, I feel so much better about it. And it's so strange how it's this bitter discussion online. There's Cole Kmet fans and there's Cole Kmet haters. I am not on the hater train. I'm on the fan train. I see the perfect opportunity for him to really shine this year. I think that the Bears in general have a great opportunity to shine this year. It's super exciting. I think football in general, so many teams spent the off season really just shining those turds, like we are gonna shine this year. Look at the Lions, look at the Bears, look at, gosh, everybody, even Houston. David Mills is out there with his long neck making
Oh my
people
gosh.
look.
It reminds us in Chicago of Mike Glennon. Whenever you see a long neck who looks like Uriel Plouffe from Star Wars, we think of Mike Glennon. You did say the Detroit Lions. Don't throw the Detroit Lions in with the Chicago Bears. Like, we're a serious franchise. The Lions are like this mid-card jobber in AEW or the WWE, where it's like they put together a video package. Like, this is why Hard Knocks is so great for the Lions, is that you can put together a video package of the Lions and it leads you to believe, like, oh my gosh, this could actually happen. Like, yeah, the Lions, they're going to go out there and they're going to win. Like, when sometimes I'll be watching SmackDown on a Friday night and they put out a Chad Gable video montage. You're like, oh my God, Chad Gable's going to beat Roman Reigns. And then it happens. And then it's a 30-second squash match. And you're like, oh, but the production led me to believe that it was going to be a pretty good, like, a match. And it wasn't. I think that's the Lions. So I will allow you to say that one time, Kelly. That's
All
it.
right. I mean, to be fair, I do a betting segment in Detroit with Detroit people, and it's kind of converted me slightly. But, I don't know if you follow at Detroit Beastie for any sports betting or
Of course.
DFS, but I'm sure there's a battle to be had there over
Oh,
can the Lions do it. I love the backstory that you get with Hard Knocks, because in
yeah.
sports betting, I'm a big fan of what is going on with that player. Have they been married? Have they been divorced? Are they breaking up? Do they have a baby? Do they have, poison ivy? I don't know, whatever it is. I want to
Yeah.
know what's going on with them because it affects their play. And I don't know too many sports bettors in general or analysts even that care that much about it, but it's important.
No, all that stuff factors in. And especially, I don't know, is Jared Goff still with his girlfriend? I don't know. That's one of
Yes.
the things, like Jared Goff, like you see him on the football field and you're like, meh. But then you see him off the field and he's got a girlfriend who's, most would consider attractive. And you're like, well, he's
Mhm.
got to have something going on. It's not his football skills, but there's something about Jared Goff that obviously appeals to somebody. So that is important. I do want to ask you though, since you do, I'm not advocating betting. I don't even know what the Bears win total is for this coming season. I don't even know what that means. How many wins do you think the Bears, if you were just going to project and you were going to say, hey, this is how many wins I think the Bears will have. I don't want to know the number. Don't give me the Vegas number. How many wins do you think the Bears will have this season?
I think the Bears could have 8 wins. I've been looking at the schedules, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted at one point to be like lower, but I think 8 is a good number.
Dun, 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 dun. You know what? That's acceptable. I mean, it's you're off by 2. But
Okay.
it's okay. No, no, no. It's acceptable. I do appreciate that. It's interesting to see, and of course, Kelly's work in the gaming space in fantasy football. She is an unbiased person living out there in Arizona. Although she's close to a Portillo's, so I don't know if that counts.
That's true.
Both in Southern California and in Arizona. So of course, there might be a little bit of whatever. So I appreciate. I think 8 wins. I think most Bears fans are realistic. Last season, this team won 6 games with Matt Nagy without a coherent offensive
Right.
program or anything like that. So I think that it's fair that when you look at the team right now, to be like, well, if they're coached better, they should be in more games and they should be competitive and they should do some stuff like that. I won't keep you too much longer, but I did want to take an opportunity to kind of pick your brain on some. I did ask you, I gave you a
Mhm.
homework assignment. who are some players that are kind of sliding under the radar or undervalued? However, I described it. Who are some of the players that you're looking at? We know how you feel about the tight end position, but who are
Right.
some guys that you got?
So one I think is really interesting is Green Bay has a couple actually. Um,
Show's over. Good night, every. No, I'm just teasing. Go
okay,
ahead.
I'll skip. I have
I'm joking.
4.
No. I love Aaron Jones this year. So please go on. The Green Bay
Okay.
guys are fun.
Aaron Jones is being drafted at RB13. However, AJ Dillon is being drafted at RB25,
Yeah.
but they literally split production. So it makes me wonder if you're not able to grab the household name of Aaron Jones, it sounds logical that you should pick up AJ Dillon if we're going to say all things are equal and this year they will again split production, which I think is completely possible because it feels like Green Bay was obliterated in the
Yeah.
offseason. So you're safe drafting AJ Dillon instead of Aaron Jones as your RB.
I love Aaron Jones, but I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. Cause like that's the thing. Like if you miss out on Aaron Jones, then be like, all right, fine, I'll get AJ Dillon.
Right.
Outside of Aaron Rodgers, of course, the two best offensive players on that team. Like Alan Lazard, he'll be fine. Romeo Dobbs has been fine. But no, those are the two guys that you need to have. So I agree with you. Even though they're Packers, we can be realistic. But yeah, those are two good options.
Well, you mentioned Alan Lazard. He finished not terribly last year as the wide receiver 44. He's being drafted right now as the wide receiver 51.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, who else are they passing to is my question. I mean, obviously they have other wide receivers. They've replaced them. They've brought on, a rookie draft pick. But Alan Lazard, he's got rapport there with Aaron Rodgers. And I see him as being the wide receiver 1 there in Green Bay. And he's being drafted as the wide receiver 51. So
That's a little low. Yeah,
value.
that is a little low. Value pick.
Value
Absolutely.
pick. We talked a little bit about Albert O in Denver and the situation there with Fant leaving. The other part of that equation is they've picked up Russell Wilson. Obviously, everybody knows that,
Yep.
which I think is going to benefit Javonte Williams,
Ooh.
who split touches with Melvin Gordon.
Yes.
Both approached 1,000 yards last season. And again, that's great. That's fantastic. If they're going to continue to split yards, it's still a win for you. If I can't even speak, Melvin Gordon is aging, as we're all aging. We're all
Yes.
aging here. And it makes room for Javonte Williams to start moving up and taking more of those snaps. So think about Javonte Williams on Denver with a brand new quarterback and no one ball hogging.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
a great one.
that's funny too, because like I've been an advocate of Melvin Gordon because of the discount. But again, it's a new coaching staff. I mean, a new coaching staff could come in and be like, yeah, we're just going to go with Javonte Williams because he's more dynamic. So that is something to keep in mind. Maybe I will go back to overdrafting Javonte Williams. How about one more for us? And then we'll let you go about your business.
I have 2 more, but
All right,
one
two more.
more.
No. Give me 2 more then. All right, I'll take 2 more. You said it. I was
They'll
going to be
quick
polite. No. I was going to be polite. I don't want to take up all your time, but if you're going to offer 2, I'm going to take 2.
I do. I have 2 more, but they'll be pretty quick because one I didn't actually figure out where they were going. Actually, both of them I didn't figure out where they're going in the draft. I just know I haven't seen them early. Saquon Barkley, bless his heart, is not going early this year. He finished he's being drafted as RB 14 right now, which actually I think that has to be his floor. It's Saquon Barkley. He's 25 years old.
Yeah.
And I know he's let us down year after year and he's been injured, but you have to take the risk. I think you have to.
Yeah, for sure.
And the other one that is kind of like the invisible running back who finished as RB5 last season is Arizona's James Conner.
Oh, yeah.
Not flying off the board, folks.
No, nobody wants to draft him. Like, we tried to tell them last year to take James Conner. Like, I was all in on James Conner, and nobody listened. And then we're back in the same in the same spot again.
Yep. He's out there. You can find him well into the middle of your draft, and the man finished 5th.
Unbelievable. I know that he was sort of touchdown dependent last year, but like, yeah, touchdowns are cool. Like that, I expect this offense to score a bunch of them. He is their running back option for those. They got rid of his competition. It felt like,
yep.
I don't know. People don't want nice things. I don't know how much that we have to sit here and beg them to take players like James Conner. They just don't want to do it. But listen, Kelly, thank you so much for doing this. You came on short notice, and we really appreciate you coming and joining us here on Fantasy Island, which is presented by nobody. I don't know. Maybe if we knew a VP of marketing for some company, maybe that could be changed. But listen, thank you so much. How can people follow you on Twitter? And tell us a little bit more about Trophy Smith.
Yeah, of course. They can follow me on Twitter at Kelly in Phoenix, where I do a lot of freelance work in my part-time. Luckily, I work for a sports adjacent brand, TrophySmack.com, where we produce amazing 6 pounds of chromed out metal championship belts and champ chains, which is essentially a championship belt on a super thick chain. So rad. And then, your standard trophies, but they're never standard. But
it's cool. You know what? Like, I know a bunch of my leagues have championship belts. It is so much fun. And even we have leagues that we don't even pay money. Like, we just play for a belt, and everybody is as engaged, maybe even more so in getting a belt. So if you're looking for something to spice up your fantasy league this season, if you want to do something different, you can get one of those. You can get a trophy. You can get a chain. Yeah, a punishment. Like, it doesn't have to be good. It can be bad. It can be a punishment as well. So be sure to check out our friends at Trophy Smack. But Kelly, thank you so much for being here. You know what? I'll have you here as we close out the show. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Ill Will, who joined us here earlier today. I want to thank everybody who stuck with us after we got rid of our radio audience. This is what we'll do for the coming season. We'll take a little extra time to go over some fantasy football stuff. And to Kelly and to Sammy and to everybody else who makes this show sing, thank you so much. So until next week, bear down. And Sammy, can you play us out again?
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.